Hello everyone, my name is Javier Perez and today I will present one of our most popular products, CeraSkin series, which is human skin identical ceramide solution, which can be absorbed by natural lipid barrier of a skin. Before we start, let's understand the skin and the role of ceramide. As we know, a 50-60-year-old skin can be changed into a 20-30-year-old skin. But what we can do is improve its environment and make it similar to an environment of a young skin. We all know well the environment of a young skin, which is loses less water, is tighter, can absorb faster, regenerates faster, and many other advantages. As we grow old, our skin starts to be more fragile, absorbs slower. The skin also becomes thinner, and all of these lead to increased water loss and dry skin. So let's review briefly some points. Here we can see an example of the skin. As we know well, the skin can be divided into three layers: the epidermis, dermis, and finally the subcutaneous tissue. The epidermis plays a very important role in the skin care, since it acts as a barrier to the skin, and its functions are to reduce the transepidermal water loss, also to reduce external stimuli, such as dryness, heat, and pollution, to prevent invasion of microorganisms, and finally to resist UV radiation. The defense of the epidermis comes from the stratum corneum, as we can see. The lipid composition in the stratum corneum is the key to the skin natural barrier, and the major composition of intercellular lipid in the stratum corneum are ceramides, cholesterol, and fatty acids. As we can see in the chart, the main component of intercellular lipids is ceramide, which cooperates with cholesterol and fatty acid to form an important skin barrier. And ceramide account for the largest proportion. So we can start to see the important role that ceramides plays in skin care. So, after this brief review, what is ceramide? Ceramide is a lipid formed by connecting sphingosine and fatty acid. It exists in the intercellular spaces of the stratum corneum and is the main component of intercellular lipid in the stratum corneum. It forms an important skin barrier together with cholesterol and the fatty acids. The efficacies include promoting epidermal hydration, enhancing the cohesion of epidermal cells, preventing dry skin, making the skin smooth and elastic. Its hydrophilic and lipophilic characteristics can form a lipid bilayer structure, so it can effectively prevent transepidermal water loss and promote dry skin to regain the ability of retaining moisture with excellent moisturizing effect. Here we can see a good example to understand better what are ceramides. If we compare the epidermis to a brick wall, the bricks are the keratinocytes, and the mortar between the bricks is ceramide, as we can see clearly in the chart. As we saw, ceramides play a very important role in the care of our skin. And in the chart, we can see some very interesting numbers about it. In our skin, we already have ceramide, but age and sun damage reduces the effectiveness of our skin ceramides and can eventually deplete them, which weakens our skin's barrier. So, as we age, the ceramides level start to decrease, and the results are drier, rougher skin, wrinkles, easier to have irritation, redness, and many more. So, when we start to grow older and we lack ceramide, the best thing we can do to our skin is to provide human identical ceramides, so we can keep a good environment to our skin. Let's see the chart with some numbers. Firstly, we can see that in the hands, when we are around 20 to 30 years old, the level of ceramide is around 100%. But after 31 to 40 years old, then it drops to 78%. And then from 41 to 50 years old, it drops to 63%. And this is only on the hands. If we look at the face, we can see that the numbers drop drastically. When we are around 41 to 50 years old, in our face only have around 37% of ceramide levels. So that's a reason why we start to see more wrinkles and age faster, since our skin can keep it moisturized and we lose a lot of water. Another interesting table is the correlation of skin problems and the content of ceramides. As we can see, many of the skin problems are due to ceramide deficiency. The main types are the type 1, 3, and 6. In our skin, if we see which one has the most percentage, is the type 2 and 3. But type 3 is one of the most popular for cosmetics. Types 1, 6, and 4 are more for drugs, like for medicine products. Many of the skin problems we mentioned can also be improved by providing ceramide, and again we can see the importance of ceramide. Ceramide is related to skin moisturizing. As we know, moisturizing can be divided into two parts: maintaining the hydration of the epidermis and preventing transepidermal water loss. This is very important for a good skin care. As we can see in the picture, the difference between a young and a mature skin. As we grow older, our capacity to prevent transepidermal water loss decreases, and this is due to the lack of ceramide. As we can see, ceramides are very important to our skin, but normally ceramides are difficult to use and to formulate with. The ceramide must be clearly solved in the hot oil phase, and the temperature of oil and water phase must be high enough to ensure that the ceramide does not recrystallize during the homogenization step. Sometimes when formulating, we can see the recrystallization problem, and therefore is not very useful. That's why Bioness has developed easy-to-use ceramide, which can be easily solved in both water and oil phase, and no need to use very high temperatures. We have developed three types, which are the CeraSkin O, containing 3% of ceramide, CeraSkin P, containing 0.5 of ceramide, and CeraSkin C3Br, containing 2% of ceramide. Now we will share with you some studies we did. The first type we are going to present is the CeraSkin O, which is 3% solution of ceramide and P. Very easy to be dispersed or dissolved in oil. The first one is the moisturizing efficacy. As we can see, the test method is to apply it twice a day for 7 days, and then end the treatment. But on the following days, for another week, keep doing the test so we see what happens. In the first case, we can see we use CeraSkin O, 5% and 2% range. And then we use also hyaluronic acid since it is a very well-known moisturizing ingredient. The results clearly can see that when starting to use the CeraSkin O, we can see very good results from day one. And during the first 7 days, all results are good. In the case of hyaluronic acid, also it has good performance. The interesting part is when we stop the treatment. We can see how after the first 2 to 3 days after treatment, in the case of the CeraSkin O, still have very good performance. Whether in the case of hyaluronic acid, it can be seen that after a few days, it drops quite fast. From this first test, we can see that due to the ceramide, it improves hydration and long-lasting effects. We can also see that the ceramide remains in the skin, and that's what we want, because there are many types of ceramides in the market, and some might not have the good efficacy. But in our case, clearly we can see how all the ceramide remains in the skin, and that's its job. It's important to mention when we are talking about CeraSkin O 5%, it means only 0.15% of ceramides. And in the case of CeraSkin O 2%, only 0.06% of ceramide. And we can see with so low levels of ceramides, we can already achieve great results. The next test is the protection against skin irritation. The method here is to apply it on volunteers twice a day for 7 days. Then we damage the skin and take measures. From the chart, we can see clearly that the CeraSkin prevents irritation of damaged skin by regulating the barrier function of the skin. In this case, we can see how hyaluronic acid also has good effects, but if we compare to CeraSkin, there is a big difference. The third test is the recovery from skin dryness. In this test, we first damage the skin with SDS, then apply the CeraSkin and hyaluronic acid twice a day for 14 days to see what happens. From the results, we can see CeraSkin O helps damaged skin to recover from dryness very fast. One interesting point is that the yellow table, the untreated. We can see that if the skin is damaged and we do not do anything to improve it, the skin by itself, it will take long time to recover. Such on the chart, we can see that after 2 weeks, the skin haven't recovered. And the older we are, the longer the recovery process will be. So this is an obvious reason of why ceramides are so important. In the case of hyaluronic acid, again, we can see there is a big difference when compared to CeraSkin. The following test is to see the difference in strengthening the epidermal barrier between ceramide 3, which is 0.09% of ceramide, and CeraSkin O, which is 3% of ceramide, so it's also 0.09%. The results of the study indicate that dissolved ceramide, CeraSkin O, reinforces the barrier function more efficiently and lower the transepidermal water loss, better than ceramide dispersion, as we can see clearly in the chart. Finally, for the CeraSkin O, we have one last test, in which we did in a volunteer, in which it applied the CeraSkin O twice a day for 14 days. And we take a picture before and after. As we can see in the result, there is a big difference. If we pay attention, we can see how there was a wrinkle. Before and after 2 weeks improved drastically. When we have enough ceramide in our skin, we can retain the water and avoid water loss, so result in a healthy environment for the skin. Now we are going to see some tests with the CeraSkin P. CeraSkin P is a 0.5% solution of ceramide and P. It's very easy to be dispersed or dissolved in water. In hair care formulations, Ceramide 3 and Ceramide 3B are able to restore damaged hair, as reported in the literature, and to protect hair against chemical and UV damage. In the first test, we first damaged the hair with sodium lauryl ether sulfate solution, then applied 3% and 5% of CeraSkin P. Afterward, we measure the tensile strength, and we can see the CeraSkin P 5% restore 34.7% and the CeraSkin P 3% restore 26%. In this test, as you can see, we also took hyaluronic acid for comparison. And even in this test, we can see how CeraSkin performs better than hyaluronic acid. Then is the comb resistant test, in which we can see from results that the hair combability decreases after perming and bleaching. However, after applications of the hair conditioning spray containing CeraSkin P, the comb resistance reduces approximately 39.1% and 43.5% respectively. In the case also, the performance of hyaluronic acid isn't as good as CeraSkin P. With CeraSkin P, it is important to know that 5% of CeraSkin P equals 0.025% of ceramide, and in the case of 3% of CeraSkin P equals 0.015% of ceramide. We can see again with so low levels of ceramides the good results it can have. The next test is to understand how can CeraSkin P helps recover damaged hair. So we are going to see the method. As we can see, we choose CeraSkin P to soak in 1% and 5% aqueous solution respectively. Then soak the same bundle of hair into 6 small bundles in 5% of sodium lauryl ether sulfate solution for 10 minutes. Then take them out, rinse them with water, blow dry them, and place them under an electron microscope at 100, 300, and 500 times to observe the photographs. Then we spray aqueous solution soaked with 1% and 5% of CeraSkin P. Blow dry and place under an electron microscope to observe the difference. We can see the big difference when applying just few percentage of CeraSkin. In order to make it clear, I took the final picture, in which appears the hair damage and then the one applied CeraSkin P. We can see the big difference, and as we can see only using 0.025% of ceramide. So from this test, we can see how not only for the skin but also for the hair, CeraSkin can be very beneficial. Finally is the CeraSkin C3Br. Is a 2% solution of Ceramide NP. Very easy to be dispersed or dissolved in water. For this test, we applied the CeraSkin C3BR 5% lotion on volunteers' face for 4 weeks, twice a day, and then did a comparison. We can observe significant and immediate improvement on the stratum corneum structure and diminishing of fine lines. We share 2 results. The first is the skin of a 40-year-old woman's cheek, and the other one is the 50-year-old man's cheek. From the first day scan, we can see the fiber structure in the corneum deprived by the aging process. The deprivation of fiber structure in the mature corneum may cause severe transepidermal water loss and less sebum secretion, leading to decreasing elasticity and dry, dull skin, with more and more wrinkles and fine lines. After application of CeraSkin C3BR lotion for 4 consecutive weeks, we can observe dramatic fiber structure repairing and regenerating effects. And this is the visual scan in which, when we analyze the skin structure, we can see again the difference when applying CeraSkin C3Br when compared to untreated or placebo. Here we can also see the good results it has. Finally, in this chart, you can see some of the strengths of the CeraSkin series. As we saw during the presentation, we did many tests, and with very good results, not only for skincare but also for hair care. We can see all the efficacies it can have, as regenerating and anti-wrinkle, anti-aging, reduces transepidermal water loss, and so many more. So, as you can see, Bioness have developed easy-to-use ceramides that can be easily solved in both water and oil phase, and won't have the recrystallization problem or other challenge to formulate with. Also, the temperature to formulate with the CeraSkin O and C3BR is 50 degrees, and in the case of CeraSkin P, can be formulated in room temperature. There are many applications that can formulate with, and is one of Bioness top 3 products. In many markets already is very popular, and with very good results. If you have interest to know more about our CeraSkin series, please contact us or our distributors, so we can provide more information and details. Thank you very much for your listening, and wish you have a great day.